Hello, everybody. This is Barbara Drazga from Ecom Insights, and today we are talking about brand building and China sourcing, how to discover the biggest mistake that private labelers make, both new private labelers and people who have been doing it for a little bit but maybe don't have the level of success that they'd like. And again, my name is Barbara Drazga, and I'm interviewing Tim Jordan from Hickory Flats. Sorry about that starting soon. We let people come on a little bit early. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Barbara Drazga, aka The Deal Diva, and you can join me on Facebook where we talk all things e-commerce and specifically as it relates to negotiating with suppliers, making deals, selling on Amazon, selling on your own websites, doing advertising off Amazon, and that is facebook.com/groups/Deal Diva. And you can join in the conversation, and a lot of really smart people in there who can kind of jump on if you've got a question. And I'm also the creator of the Bundle Masterclass. So about 80% of my Amazon inventory is product bundles, and I teach a course on how to identify fanatical niche markets, get really good at niche market research and understanding passions and problems before you even look at product. And today I am interviewing Tim Jordan, who is the owner of Hickory Flats, and it's hickory-flats.com. And Tim, tell us about Hickory Flats and what you guys offer the Amazon seller community, and then let's get started in your presentation so we can just give them as much content as we can today.
Okay, so I'll give you the quick history of where I came from, which will actually pertain to my content too. So I came from a history in logistics and procurement. Eventually got into e-com a few years later, primarily wholesale, and then moved into private label, did pretty well there. In my background on sourcing and logistics, I already had some pretty good experience in China. So when I started getting into private label, I quickly realized, hey, there's a big demand for access to these factories, these manufacturers and logistics. So I basically started Hickory Flats as a service business, almost specifically for private label sellers. People that don't trust going to Alibaba, or they just want to outsource their stuff, make it streamlined, use some boots on the ground experience. So our company is actually built with one of my business partners who is Chinese in Shanghai. So we actually have an office in Shanghai, which gives us a little more credibility, I think, than a lot of the guys out there that say, oh, I have a Chinese business partner. It's some guy from Upwork. But doing this has given me a tremendous amount of experience, not just in working on private label myself, but also seeing what literally hundreds of people are doing. So like I see I've got some existing clients like in the group today. So no, I'm not talking about products. I keep y'all stuff quiet, of course, but being able to see a lot of mistakes, but also successes that different people are having kind of gives me this unique perspective. Just last night I was in dinner with Kevin King, the Illuminati mastermind guy, and I was talking about some stuff he'd never heard before. And he said, wow, your perspective is pretty valuable because this isn't stuff that we can always see in software. This isn't stuff that even data shows, but it's information we all need to be aware of so that we're not making some of the same boneheaded mistakes that are ruining other people's businesses right now.
Cool. Well, thank you. Let's go ahead and jump straight into the content. And the topic today is mistakes that you don't even know you're making if you've already started private labeling, and also mistakes to avoid if you haven't quite jumped in yet. So Tim, I'm going to turn control over this webinar to you and let you share content, and we'll catch up at the end of the webinar.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
So primarily I'm just going to talk. I'll do a little screen sharing here shortly. As I go to these conferences, as I have access to different groups, speaking to different people, the biggest problem that I'm seeing right now in this private label thing is my face showing, Barbara?
Your face is showing to me. I just muted myself and took myself off.
Gotcha.
Let me check.
So it disappeared. Anyways, the biggest problem I see right now is literally what I call playing follow the leader. I name it like the Caboose Principle, right? Everybody is on the back end. And what's happening right now is all of these resources that people are using to find their next private label product or private label, brand that they're gonna launch, is predicated on the success or the investigation that somebody else has already done, right? So I was speaking at a big conference in March, and people kept asking the same question. Well, how do I validate a product? How do I find a product to sell? Everything's saturated. And literally I told them, I said, stop freaking playing follow the leader. And what I mean by that, let me go a little more into detail. There are a lot of mainstream ways that people are teaching right now on how to launch a private label product. You see it. You see the courses, you see the free information, you see the guys on Facebook. And the majority of them start out with these instructions. All right, step 1, sit on your computer. Step 2, go to Amazon.com. Okay, so think about that. And I've done it before, but think about that. So you're literally going to Amazon.com to find what you can sell. Now, you know that to avoid competition, you've got to be unique. So if you're doing your research based on what other people are doing for success, I think that you're immediately getting behind the 8 ball. You're getting into that habit of following the leader. When I first started learning how to sell private label, I was following some of the big gurus out there, and they give this whole course on download Jungle Scout. So you go to Jungle Scout and they say, search this product niche, find a product, run Jungle Scout on the page, and find something that only a handful, maybe 8 or 10 sellers are doing well. And then see if you can make your product a little better, a couple different pictures, that kind of thing. This used to work, right? But even think about the flaw in that argument. Find what 8 or 10 other people are doing already. Well, best case scenario, you're going to be number 11. And maybe if you really work your butt off and spend a lot of money in this whole process, your picture's a little better, you optimize a little bit better, like you're still going to be, behind these leaders, right? So a lot of what people are teaching is, I think, relying too much on like software tools, but also relying on validation of what other people are doing. Now, that is something that we as humans are prone to do, is follow what other people are doing, because it eliminates some of that sense of fear. All right. So if you went on Amazon and you had a product, let's say you had a box of something in your garage, it's not on Amazon. You don't really know if those are going to sell. Now, you can do keyword research, you can do a lot of different validation, but you don't really know. But if somebody else is on Amazon already selling that product and they're doing well, then that takes away some of that fear and some of that doubt in your mind, because, well, if they're doing it, that gives me validation that it does work. So we as humans like to see a case study, or we like to see that we're not going to be the first one stepping off the cliff and see if we survive the fall at the bottom, right? So what this does is it leads to this habit of getting too much validation, right? Well, let's find 5, 6, 7, 10 people that are doing this, and then surely we can jump in and we're not going to fail. The problem is everybody sees that same information, right? So I use software tools, don't get me wrong, but so much of the software kind of arsenal out there is predicated too much on existing sales. All right. It's predicated too much on validation that somebody else has done. So I think that we as private label sellers, one of the biggest mistakes that I see being made is we're not being creative enough, and we're being too reliant on those software tools. Now, I use the heck out of like Helium-10, right? My partner uses Helium-10 all the time when she's doing her research, but we're just using it for search volume. How many people are searching this item? Now, it's crazy. We're launching products that there will be like large search volume or decent search volume, but not even a product that's selling. So if we search unicorn hairbrush, there might be, I'm just making that up, but unicorn hairbrush, there might be search volume, but no products that support it. As you go in and start looking at these validation tools, run that keyword, unicorn hairbrush, and they'll tell you it's a terrible idea, because so many of these validation tools say if nobody's selling it, it must not be valuable, like people must not be searching for it. So you have to start considering, well, is there even anything on Amazon? So what I like to do is I love finding something with search volume and the validation tools say it's terrible because there's no other sales on there. Now we know we can come in with very little PPC. We can not have to fight this massive competition because we're literally the first ones there, and people are looking for that thing. So I'll get more into that and some other content later, I'm sure, but I'll try not to get too big on a rant and get off topic. Aside from software tools, I'd say, let me go back to the other people's success, right? Let's go to some samples or some ideas. Now I'm going to screen share. Let me show you guys one of my biggest mistakes in private label. I'm literally going to show you the product. All right. Y'all can all see my screen, I assume? So Amazon.com, here we are, meat tenderizers. Everybody knows that kitchen sells pretty well. There's a lot of products in kitchen that sell. So a few years ago, I started following this rabbit trail of these meat tenderizers. And I thought, well, surely, Everybody wants a meat tenderizer. So I literally just now went to Meat Tenderizer and started scrolling around. Sorry, I'm got too many texts chatting or popping up. I'm gonna close my email too. Okay. Start looking at these meat tenderizers as I scroll through this. What these are is these are like a self-retracting blade, different brands. You got a couple hammers in here, but mostly it's these self-retracting blades. Well, look at this bad boy right here. This thing is pretty cool. So 2 years ago, I'm cruising through, I'm looking at all these meat tenderizers, and I come across this, and there's like 6 listings of this same thing, right? The price is all around 18, 19 bucks. I thought, that's amazing. Like 18, 19 bucks, it locks, it's dishwasher safe, it's a different design, generally than a lot of these, like this one, which is the most popular, 18, 19 bucks. So I click over to Alibaba, and I start searching, okay? So y'all are seeing this in real time as I'm doing it. Retracting blade, some more hammers, fancy retracting blade. You see a lot of these are similar, right? All right, check this bad boy out. 10 cents to $5. By the way, don't ever trust this. This is very subjective. But I found the manufacturer for this, and using my partner in China, hey, Ron, call up this factory and see what we can get it for. Well, we ended up being able to buy these for about $2. Shipped, landed, cleared, everything. Our cost was like $5. Well, our competition's at 19, right? Perfect. We're going to make a ton of money on this. So we ordered some in. We actually sold pretty well, our first sample of like 300 units because we were very new to it. Maybe overspent on PPC. But by the time that we ordered like 2,000 units, everybody was on that thing, right? So even now you see the average prices of these meat tenderizers, they're pretty low. So like this same one that we were selling, if we buy it at $5 or $6, landed, or let's say $5, by the time we get it shipped into FBA, by the time we handle all of our labor getting these things prepped, like this guy I'm sure is breaking even. But if we keep scrolling down, here's the same thing. It's in red. And I can go through maybe the next 20 pages. There's another one. And there's another one. And you'll see the same meat tenderizer just repeatedly over and over. There's another one. And like I haven't prepped for this. I'm just going in here, just showing you guys just right off the bat. And these are all PPC stuff, so they're paying for that. So long story short, I figured out that that by following the software, I'm seeing the same information everyone else is seeing. So I go to my notes. So I'm seeing what other people are seeing, but basically I made that same mistake. I said, well, look, some people have succeeded at this. Like these guys are selling this for $19. Surely I can too. But if I'm seeing that information, everybody's seeing the information. And I had no product that was different. I had nothing else that was, making mine better. I could have got in a bundled if I had known a little more about that. But even so, if you don't have a unique product and you're literally basing your product ideas off of what other people are doing, I think that you're just playing the follow leader. You're becoming that caboose. And that in itself is by far the largest mistake that I see people making in product selection right now. Barbara, any questions on that before I move on to the next thing?
Nope, we're good. I'm just taking notes and I'm writing takeaways, hashtag takeaway with the bullet points that you're kind of covering. I'm putting them in the chat. So guys, pay attention to the chat too, because we're documenting what Tim is talking about. And I love, Tim, that you're doing this live and unscripted, so everybody can see that this is, this is real stuff. It's not made up. It's not some canned presentation that, not that there's anything wrong with that, but they can see that you're kind of the real deal. And I love that you're showing it on the fly.
Gotcha. Well, sometimes it's bad. Who knows? Who knows what I dive into on Amazon on a rabbit trail and drag you guys along with me.
That's
all right,
okay.
so
Keep going.
So the second biggest thing that I see wrong with people's private label attempts right now is a lot of, again, going back to bad information, a lot of the information out there is teaching you that you can sell a competitive product. Can you sell a competitive product? Sure. Can you do it with profit margins and sustainability? I really don't think so. So people are doing what I call the rocket ship technique. Okay. Think back to like the Apollo era, the moon race and all that, the space race to the moon. The Saturn V rocket was literally the largest engine ever produced, the most powerful engine ever produced. And those Saturn V rockets, would take that Apollo capsule out of the atmosphere, make a couple revolutions and slingshot off the moon. So think of all the engineering, think of all the material, think of all of the brain power used to build that rocket, right? And then they had to pack that thing full of mountains of fuel. I mean, just tremendous amount of fuel. They light that sucker off, and it was, I'm sure, something to behold. Actually breaks through the atmosphere and gets up into orbit. Amazing feat of engineering technical ability, right? And we all try to do that with our private label products. I love Casey Goss, viral launch. He's got that same thing, the whole spacesuit thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that people rely too much on the ability to launch a product through some of these techniques, whether it's giveaways, whether it's coupon codes, whether it's boosting their reviews and hoping they don't get all knocked down by doing these different launch techniques. Literally, you're spending a mountain of time, just like those rocket guys. You're packing this thing full of fuel. You're spending tremendous amounts of engineering and brain power, right, to launch this product through this extremely difficult gravity, which is our competition in private label, and you get into orbit. But all of those capsules come down, right? Like, this isn't a space station, we're a rocket. All of that stuff falls back down. So what I see people doing is spending a tremendous amount of energy, resources, money on pay-per-click, and they can break the gravity, and they get on these Facebook groups of, wow, I did it, I got to page 1. But everybody else is lining up rockets against yours. And as they're burning that fuel, you're running out of fuel and you're tanking back down. So these, especially like the flash in the pan products, right? The people that see something's getting popular, the fidget spinners and the hooded baby towels that I like to talk about. Years ago, it was the meat tenderizer. Last year, it was the magnet tile blocks. Like, everybody's competing for the same thing. And yes, you can get to page 1 of anything. I believe that. But you may have to give away thousands of units. You may have to spend thousands of dollars in pay-per-click. You literally have to go against some big brand names, and it's just not sustainable. So what I like to do is I like to think of myself like a little Cessna, right? Like, very little fuel, nobody's paying attention. I'm not big and glamorous. I've got products that aren't super competitive, and I've just got that little engine puttering away, and it's gaining altitude, flying below the radar. Nobody even knows I'm there, right? So I guess to recap that, don't put too much of your faith, or well, let me reword it. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making in private label is putting too much faith in their launch. Okay. If your kind of solution to launching a product is being able to outwork everybody in the launch, it potentially means that your product selection sucks. Like, if you have the right product, you don't have to be out there going against all these big brands and all these big boys and out hustling all of them. Like, put something up that's unique. And there's a million products out there that are not on Amazon, these underserved niches, right? So don't be the rocket ship, be the Cessna, all right? I know that nobody likes to be unglamorous, but I'm seeing people failing miserably at this. Now, here's another problem with the rocket ship thing. You spend all these resources and you get to the top. You get to page 1, right? You've got this gravity pulling you down. You got all this competition. You start selling. Well, oh crap, I'm going to run out of inventory. So then you start restocking and restocking and restocking. Well, the problem is now you're spending a lot of money on new inventory, and you don't see all these other rocket ships breaking through gravity to come at you. So the price is just a race to the bottom and take down, and now you're stuck with inventory you can't move. Like, I personally know of people that are sitting on 7 figures right now of fidget spinners because they fought that battle. They used all that fuel. They launched to page 1. They were selling great. They thought the velocity would stay forever, and it didn't. And now they can't give these things away. You go into any gas station out there, you can buy these fidget spinners for $2 a piece, right? Well, to sell them on Amazon, these guys have got to sell them for $14, $15. Just completely doesn't work. So I guess that's the number 2 thing that I see as a biggest problem is people relying too much on these launch strategies, spending way too much energy. They're burning up all their fuel. They come away discouraged, and, all their competition is doing the exact same thing as them. It's just a massive race to the bottom.
Tim, can I interject for just a half a second?
Yep.
So, Tim referenced, you mean aircraft reference, a Cessna, C-E-S-S-N-A, and it's a small single-engine aircraft. For those of you who didn't know what that reference was, it doesn't take this really quick trajectory through Whoa, that wasn't me. Through Tim's in Vegas. Through the atmosphere, a Cessna, it takes off and it works its way up and it gets there and then it hums right along. So for those of you who didn't know what a Cessna was, small single engine plane, that's part of the analogy. And then the other thing to illustrate what you just said about they get stuck with this inventory, I literally this morning got an email from a Chinese supplier saying that they have 2 products sitting in a port that their buyer went belly up, and now they don't know what to do with the product, and the product is sitting in a U.S. port, and asked me to help them. So it is a real thing. If you don't do your research up front, it is a real thing. You can get yourself in some really hot financial water by doing things the wrong way in private label. So I just wanted to tell you those 2 things to illustrate. Keep going.
Okay. Number 3, I see a lot of people do a mountain of research on product niches. People are doing research on demand. People are sourcing phenomenal products, but they're not thinking about the logistics side of it. Now, maybe I'm biased because I do so much logistics and I see this literally every day as a problem, but you guys have to understand as private labelers that there are things that you cannot get into the country, or there are things that are going to cost a fortune to get into the country, or there's things that you cannot legally export from the country you're buying it from. All right? These suppliers are not going to warn you. Either they don't know it or they don't care if you have this problem because they're making money anyways, right? By selling it. I've made this mistake recently. Bought some stuff in China, literally had it in my hands while I'm on one of my frequent trips to China. Everything's fine. We get it to the port, and a government official comes over and says, "Hey, this is an item that we can't export from the country. Like, this is restricted." Of course, the supplier's not going to take it back, right? So you got to get myself in trouble. I see a lot of people right now that are buying a tremendous amount of products. Well, let me back up. My shipping service through Hickory Flats, the service that we provide, we do hand-holding shipping for people. So if you have a product in China, we can handle the export, we can handle the shipping, we can handle the import, we handle all of that for you. So we will get people to contact us and say, "Hey, I have this many boxes, this much size, this much weight. Can you ship this for me?" We say, "Sure." So we'll actually arrange the shipment, and then we find out what's in it, and it'll be something we can't export. There's a guy, I see him, I'm not going to call you out in here, that you've run into this, man. 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, we were battling with this because the suppliers aren't going to tell you this. It's not something you can easily research like on a quick government website, but this stuff you can't get into the country. So what people are doing, and I'm seeing it constantly, I'm going to warn everybody right now, if you're getting into anything that touches the human body, if you're getting into creams, if you're getting into makeups, if you're getting into shampoos or hair oils or any of that stuff, the government's cracking down on it massively. There are some really underserved niches in those categories on Amazon that a lot of people are seeing. They're buying these products, they're getting them produced, they're getting amazing packaging done, beautiful labels. They call us for a shipping quote and we say, "Dude, you cannot get this in the country." Well, how do I get this into the country? Well, you have to have FDA approval. How do I get FDA approval? You literally have to have your factory registered with the FDA, which can take years. And most of these factories in China, they're selling all over the world. So like in our small frame private label Amazon mine, sometimes we think of China and Amazon. Everything is just this one giant road going here, from here to here. But these suppliers in China are selling all over the world. So they might be selling all these topicals or these hair treatments to, all over Africa or Southeast Asia or even Europe. Some things you can get in there that you can't get into the US. They're not paying attention to the US import laws. So I have clients right now that are stuck with this mistake. They spent all this money on products, getting sourced, getting produced, really great stuff, and it is stuck. Like, they're completely stuck with it. And it's because they weren't familiar enough with the product when they were sourcing it to determine whether it can come in or out of the country. Also, there are things called anti-dumping duties or anti-dumping laws. Write this down, go through and research it. It might scare you a little bit. But what happened, and a lot of this started happening 20 or 30 years ago. This isn't anything new. This isn't like a Trump trade war thing. But the U.S. government found that maybe some production practices weren't up to the standards that we would like to have, but the suppliers were whipping our tails in price compared to domestic production. So what they started doing, the U.S. government, is they started imposing increased tariffs or duties on these things as they come in. There's a documentary on Netflix you can check it about garlic. So there's a lot of growers in China that are growing some good garlic, but they're using inmate labor to pull apart the cloves and take the skin off and can them. Well, that labor's free, right? But the U.S. doesn't want forced labor in China in these prisons literally peeling garlic. So on peeled garlic, the prices coming in from China were ridiculously low compared to domestic growers of garlic. So they basically put this dumping duty of like 120% on this product. So what that does is if you bring it in, you have to pay like 120% of its value as duties, which equals the playing field, which reduces demand for this inmate labor garlic. Okay. Now that's kind of an extreme situation. I just mentioned that because it's on Netflix. You can go through and watch this documentary. But you need to be very, very familiar with what's called your HTS codes. It's your harmonized tariff schedule codes, which it pretty much determines what your duties are. I'll give you an example. A paper notebook. If you are bringing in a paper notebook that's spiral bound, 8.5 by 11 sheet, just a kid's notebook, your duty rate might be 2%. Very cheap, very, very cheap duty. If that same spiral bound notebook has lines in it, like a high school kid's notebook, when those lines are put in the book as opposed to blank paper, it changes that HTS code to a product that falls under anti-dumping laws. So now you're paying, I think for that's 106%. So what's happening is we, private label sellers, are researching products and we see, hey, all these people, their price is really high, but I can buy it so cheap, I can whip their tails in price and have as good of a product. But if we're not thinking about like the legalities and the logistics of this, we're not thinking about the HTS codes, we're literally going to double our price of that product. And I literally see this mistake every week. And I've been seeing it for years every week. So, and nobody's teaching it, right? So, or most mainstream people are teaching it. So you have to start thinking, or let me rephrase that to hit the theme of the webinar. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making are not considering all of the steps from point A to point B, right? Go to Amazon, figure out an underserved niche, go to Alibaba, I can buy this, I'm good. I'll estimate the shipping and then I'll have it in here, selling on Amazon, make $1 million, getting a Chuck Norris high five, right? Not the case. Like you have to start looking deeply into all of these different kind of steps of the game. Right now, people see FBA selling, especially private label selling, as easy. They see it as, I won't say a get rich quick scheme, but maybe something that is very passive income with very minimal amount of work, right? Guys, this is not easy. Like private label doing it the right way is hard. Like I see attendees in here that are going through this right now that are like hustling, doing a great job, but nothing's given to you, right? If you don't treat this like a real business, you're not going to build a real business. If you're not doing the correct amount of research and you're not hustling and you're not trying to figure out every step along the way, you're just going to a YouTube video and saying, oh, I can buy this from Alibaba, white label it, stick a sticker on this thing and sell it, I'm good. I hate the term private label. I use it because everybody understands what private label is. I had a big argument with someone the other day. I'm like, let's just quit using the term private label because it implies that you can literally just put a label on something and make money off of it. I follow all these Facebook groups, right? You guys do too. And it just makes me sick. Like it makes me want to reach through my phone screen and strangle some of these people because a new seller will get on and say, hey, what is private label? And someone will say, oh, that's where you buy something off Alibaba and you put your label on it and you sell it. Like I want to strangle these people. I've been at conferences, at roundtables where I kind of keep my mouth shut. Maybe these people don't know who I am and we get in these roundtable conversations and people will say that literally, what is private label? It's where you put your sticker on something. This is not a sticker. Like this business, you have to get beyond the sticker. You have to get beyond the label. You have to start producing things that are going to sustain your business for a long time. You can't sell these rocket ship products sustainably. Have I sold rocket ships lately? Absolutely. But I know that we're going to have it for 3 or 4 months. The sales are going to start tanking because everybody else is getting involved in this. People are seeing what we're doing. Like I've got people that or I've got products that I've sourced and sold very well. And then like 4, 5, 6 months later, I start seeing all the sourcing inquiries come in for the same product. Like I'm out of it personally, right? By then I've already started cutting my losses, figuring this isn't going to last long. And I tell other people the same thing. I've got clients that, even though I don't do, consulting for like my shipping customers, I'll tell them, hey, I know you've been doing really well at this for 5 or 6 months, but do you think that maybe this is getting saturated? You should pull out. So my point is, you can make a little money on these rocket ships, but it's not going to sustain your business. They're just bonuses. But treat this like the real business that it is. Stop trying to find these hacks and tips and cheats and rocket shipping your way to the top. Find unique products that people are going to buy, build brands, build loyalty. Don't listen to the stuff out there where people are saying you don't need brand influencers. Guys, brand influencers are huge. I see people making the mistakes all the time of thinking that Amazon is the be all end all. I see people that are even launching competitive stuff, but if they have outside traffic converting to it, it sells. I was actually meeting recently with a government agent for Singapore, right? Singapore has a huge economy, and this agent basically works with brand owners and factories and stuff in Singapore to bring their products to the market. She used this term that I love, and this isn't even on my notes. I'm kind of getting on my soapbox. Biggest mistakes people make, right? They are not platform agnostic. Biggest mistake, not platform agnostic. Okay. What I mean by that, the term agnostic is not putting all your faith in one thing, right? Or not having faith in not just one, but even a set of things. So platform agnostic is a term that I kind of stole from her because I thought it was really good. If we're building something, we cannot put all of our faith in the Amazon platform. Amazon is great, right? Low-hanging fruit, like people are making money on it, biggest network or selling platform in the world. It's awesome. Tomorrow we could all wake up and it's gone. We could all have one email that says you've been suspended, or we've stopped letting you sell in this category. I see it all the time. People that are building great brands, the squishies that are real popular now. Like, I've got clients that were really sourcing these things hard, buying, half a container of squishies, and all of a sudden Amazon sends out an email and says, hey, we're not accepting any new sellers for squishies. Same thing happened last Christmas with magnet blocks. If we're taking this business seriously like we should, quit listening to the bullcrap information out there, the get-rich-quick schemes, the, hey, sell on FBA, you can quit your job tomorrow, and treat this like a real business. Know that part of building that business means you've got to have other platforms and other sales channels for these products. Because if Amazon disappears, what are you going to do, right? Also, there are certain niches that sell better off of Amazon. And there's a lot of people that will argue with me on that, right? I personally know people that are doing very well selling better on Etsy than Amazon, right? Or selling equally well on Etsy as Amazon with the right product. So if we become platform agnostic and we realize that we're selling a product to a customer and not just putting a product on Amazon for an Amazon customer, right? Think of the difference of that. We're creating a product for a customer. So creating a product with demand and selling it, as opposed to, let's find something that Amazon people are looking for specifically, and I can narrow my, kind of weasel my way in there and put a sticker on something, right? Does not work. People are making money. Absolutely. 5 years ago, people were making a mountain of money. I try not to criticize too much, but I also want to warn people, so it's kind of a fine line. Some of the big gurus out there that are teaching stuff, they're showing you case studies of, hey, here's like my toy that we sold a bazillion things of these, in the past 6 months, and it was really, really easy. Well, it's not. Like, I get to see behind the scenes and know that they spent millions of dollars promoting this stuff. Millions of dollars. We don't have millions of dollars. We're private label sellers, right? Like, we're bootstrapping, we just want to, quit our 9 to 5, and, we might not have a ton of money to start this. Even if we do, I don't think anybody in here probably has millions of dollars just to spend on advertising for one toy. So quit listening to the hype. Understand that this is an extremely sustainable business model. Understand that this can literally change your life, but it's not a scam. It's not a fad. It's not something that's super easy. Is going to take minimal amount of work. This is not a 4-hour work week kind of thing. It's a real business, and we have to treat it like that. So, getting off my soapbox, I'll kind of repeat that. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making is not doing their research, not doing enough investigation into the validity of a product, not doing enough product validation, not using enough creativity, because they don't see this as a real business. And I think it's a massive fallacy that a lot of people are having or that are encountering, that's causing them to maybe not even fail. A lot of them are failing, but even if they don't fail, even if they don't have success, it's discouraging. There are people out there with tremendously awesome products that didn't really do well on it, and they get discouraged, and that completely crushes what we're doing. So anyways, I'll back off that soapbox, but those are the three biggest things that I see right now. The too much reliance on software, absolutely playing follow the leader because someone else has already validated this, and then you're just a caboose on the end of a train. Spending way too much energy and faith in the launch sequence as opposed to just having a good, unique product. Those are the three things I had noted. And then getting back off my soapbox is not treating this like the real business that it is, and putting the amount of energy, focus, drive, hustle, and personal education into it that we should. All right, Barbara.
Fantastic. Sorry,
catch my breath.
That was, I know, catch your breath and fielding questions and I'm taking notes myself so that I can have these little takeaway notes to send out to everybody to encapsulate what you're talking about here. So I think I love that what Ranjit said. This guy is so legit with multiple exclamation points. I agree. And
I'll send your PayPal payment tomorrow.
No, and just to give you guys like full disclosure. So I am now working with Tim's company. I've engaged Tim's company to help me research private label products that I kind of had in the pipeline and had some ideas. And after interviewing him to work with my company, I discovered that maybe I should kind of slow down a little bit and bring them in on the process so that I'm not making some of these mistakes and losing a ton of money. And Tim, I also want to talk just a teeny bit about, you do sourcing retreats, correct? Tell us a little bit about what you're doing to help sellers actually go there and meet with suppliers in different countries.
So this is a question I've been getting asked a lot. I was at a kind of a dinner party here in Vegas last night with some other sellers, and it's a little bit confusing what I do because, Tim's like the sourcing and logistics guy. But I also have this content that, from my upper level view, like I can see some of these things and I want to warn people. So I'm kind of blending lines between a service business with the sourcing and logistics and also teaching, right? And I kind of figured out that we had this really cool niche because we have boots on the ground in different countries. So we're in China. We're also doing some private label sourcing in Central America right now, which is extremely cool. A lot of artisanal stuff, handmade, high quality, fair wage, fair trade type stuff. So if we've got these resources in these different countries, which is not only logistical resources, but educational resources, then, maybe that's kind of my niche for helping teach people. So we've started launching, and I've been taking people to different countries for years, but now we're on a larger scale, taking people on what we call sourcing retreats, which is a combination of teaching you how to source, letting you source, so taking you to these markets, finding these products, getting product ideas, but also teaching you along the way so that when you come back from these retreats, you have a really good education, you have really good networking abilities. We take masterminds with us on these trips to help teach even outside of my spectrum of expertise, but also literally go source products there at the same time, kind of in a handheld kind of way. So that's kind of something new to us where I'm blending the logistical and sourcing abilities with the content and education abilities, which has turned out to be really cool.
And one of the things that that I connected with you with is my perspective on, I don't even want to call it sourcing, my perspective on selling products to a marketplace is to really understand problems and passions. So to really get to know your customer prior to bringing any or to sourcing any product whatsoever, and really get a deep understanding of what their problems are, so that when you bring a product or a bundle of products to them, they say basically, shut up and take my money, because you've understood their problem or what feeds their passion so well up front before you even look at product, that when you finally bring a product to them, it's a much easier sell with less competition, because your competition to that market is not doing the depth of research that you're doing. So I think we connected in that that concept of really getting clear on who your target market is and doing a ton of research up front instead of just, I'll go buy something from Alibaba and put my label on it. So I like that we connected on that point. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. So do you have any last minute thoughts? I want to make sure that we're honoring your time. I know you're at a conference in Vegas right now and you want to get back to that. Do you have have you looked at the chat? There might be a couple of,
I'm looking at some down here. So how can I know if I'm choosing a product idea without falling in love with it, without demand? So yes, Errol, that is a good question. That's kind of backwards. It sounds like from the question I get asked a lot is, are you in love with the product and nobody else is? Guys, research tools, not validation, not Jungle Scout and, viral launches validation tools, but use segments of some of these software. Like I use Helium 10 Cerebro. Seller Labs has one called, I think, Scout or
yep,
Scope.
I use Scout. Scope. It's Scope.
Scope. That is literally just how many people are searching for this. All right. So it's not how many other people are selling. It's just how many searches a month for this specific keyword.
I also use Merchant Words by George Lawrence.
Yeah,
I use multiple tools and then I kind of take their average.
Yeah. So like Merchant Words and some other stuff also considers like Google and not just Amazon, which is cool because some people are searching for stuff off of Amazon before they search on Amazon. So
and Merchant Words also gives results for different platforms. So Canada, Germany, UK, a few other platforms.
Okay,
so you can find niche opportunities in platforms that are kind of Amazon platforms that are up and coming in different countries that maybe have a lot of search results, but there's no product yet on that platform meeting those results.
Sure. So we have a question here talking about we warn sellers regarding sourcing products they shouldn't order in the first place. So let me clarify that. We can't catch everything because we have so much stuff coming in out of the office through inquiries that we can't catch it all. Sometimes there's stuff going on that we're not familiar enough with that product. So like on the shipping and stuff, there's really not much we can do because by then usually the products are sourced before we're contacted. When we are asked to source a product or sourcing services, we keep an eye on that to the best of our ability. We don't have the manpower to do massive amounts of research on, restrictions and stuff. Generally speaking, if you send us an inquiry, we're going to search it or we're going to find it for you, but we can't research all of this, the ins and outs and complexities and do's and don'ts. But as far as patents, which is where your question goes to, patents is one of those things that we can't even touch because it's so complex. Like we're not patent attorneys and we just don't have the manpower to research that for you. Patents are not terribly hard to research though, because since patents are public domain, they're all over the internet. So if you take those common key phrases that are pertaining to your product and just start searching, Google that search term patent, like you'll start getting into the US Patent Office websites and it's all linked in really good to the search engines and you can usually find something. Now, don't quote me on that because there's a lot of stuff that new patents are out there. There's not a lot of search engine capabilities because it's brand new. You've got to hire a lawyer. But generally speaking, if it's a simple product that has been maybe been around for a while, it's just a little different variation. You can kind of look at something, get an idea, will this be patented or not, but just search the U.S. Patent Office or hire an attorney. If you're building a product like I think you should, which is a long-term game, a long-term play, a little bit more involved in this just rocket ship method, then you're going to be able to take the time to backtrack and you should be able to have the resources if you're going to sell this thing correctly and produce it correctly to spend a little bit of time and hire someone to look this over. Next question. I see signage sourcing trips on the Hickory Flats website. Yes. Do we have any info on the Guatemala sourcing trips? That will be dropped within the next 2 weeks. So I'm very much a measure twice, cut once guy. And we just got back from Guatemala with a few clients maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we're putting the finishing touches on some of the things that we're going to offer. The Guatemala sourcing trips are going to be very, very heavy in training, more so than China, just because the amount of training involved in sourcing, like from a third world, is a little bit heavier. Well, there's not as much content out there as there is like in China sourcing and the private label development. So we're putting the finishing touches on that. We will have that probably live to start purchasing and signing up in the next 2 weeks. And Barbara, if you don't mind, I'll shoot you a link to that when that's up and you can
Absolutely.
see attendees here.
Absolutely.
And then let's see, Colby. Yes. Colby, you have nailed it with your 3. All right. Full name of the Scope product. I think it's just called Scope, but look up Seller Labs.
Seller Labs Scope. And I'm answering some of these questions in the chat, guys. So be sure you're reading all of the chat as well. So should we tell them about the September trip? just kind of drop that a little bit?
Yeah, we can go ahead and release that. So one thing I'm doing with Barbara is I'm trying to put out content because, there's a lot of people out there that need help. And so I get kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, recruited by folks like Barbara that, want to get some of this message out. One thing that I value in Barbara is her ability to look at things differently than I do. And I've got a lot of people like that in my life. Sometimes I'm very singularly focused. So Barbara comes from a different background. So one of the things I do on my sourcing retreats, because I think that it's very, very important to have that education in there and not just, hey, come to China with us. I bring people that have a different perspective than mine. So if you go to our China sourcing page, you'll see some different dates that we have coming up. August is the first one, second one's in September. We've got the dates. And Barbara, I've actually asked her to come with me on that trip to be one of the mastermind contributors. So we're literally going to be sitting down in those mastermind sessions on this network and run around Shanghai and then going to the markets and sourcing, using the brain power of a collective group. We've got another mastermind going that literally built a toy brand from scratch. Really, really cool dude. But yeah, so that's one of the things that we were going to announce later, and put some more information out later, just, as the time came. But yeah, Barbara's going to be coming in September. It'll be her first time to this market, and she'll be learning right along with you guys. But she's also going to be adding kind of her perspective and her brain power to kind of culminate together into a group effort in what we're doing. Which is
now, to be clear, I did Canton Fair last year, which is 2017 in the spring. So I did like 6 trade shows in 12 days in Hong Kong and China. It was quite the whirlwind, and it didn't have the outcome that I wanted because I kind of stalled and I didn't have a clear vision when I went there. But it was a great experience, and I love traveling, and I met some amazing people, and most importantly, I saw the incredible opportunity if I actually had the right knowledge before going. So during my research earlier this year of people who were building a business based on creating brands, not just, as Tim described, taking a product and slapping a label on it. I'm building a business. I'm a serious business person. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm not a, hit or miss, throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what happens and, go off on these different tangents, as many entrepreneurs do, as ADD as we are. I'm interested in building businesses and long-term assets that provide me cash flow or I can sell later. So that's my perspective. Whether I'm selling on the Amazon platform is secondary, because I sell on multiple platforms and believe in having my eggs out of one basket. So that being said, one of the things that's been very successful for me is creating product bundles based on understanding a fanatical niche market that has a problem or a passion. So in the September China trip, I am coming as one of the mastermind, what are you calling us, leaders?
Contributors. Mastermind contributors.
One of the mastermind contributors, where you get to see my approach. And I actually do coaching trips to local U.S. trade shows where people meet me there, and I show them, I take them to booths and I show them my approach to bundling. Well, I'm going to do that on a bigger scale with Tim's group. And I think there's only like 12 or 15 spots in each China trip.
Yeah, we keep them small because they need to be handheld. We can't take 200 people and do it correctly. So
for the same investment, for the exact same investment that you're paying Tim, you get to learn from me as well, only on the September 2018 trip. And I'll send an email out to everybody who's in here. I'll send, in a couple of days, we'll send an email that gives you even more detail on that. But remember, there's only 12 to 15 spots. So once they're gone for September. We'll send you an email out and a little bit more information in a few days.
So let me hit some more of these questions.
Sounds great.
More details. Any more details about those, you can go to the website, hickory-flats.com. We've got the China page up there on that top banner. We'll have the Guatemala one soon. And then, Barbara, you'll send that link out later. Shipping services. So go to our website, hickory-flats.com. Top bar, shipping services. Drop down a page. There's information about it, and then get free shipping quotes. And the way that we do our shipping is very different than most people. We kind of do a handheld approach, and we act as export of record, import of record. Very cool, especially for new private label sellers. Which products are giving actual Amazon search volume? You're right. Merchant Words is an estimate, but it is an estimate based on several platforms, not just one. We think that the best out there, of course, people will argue with me, as far as easy to use and actually has a good algorithm, is Helium-10 Cerebro. It is my favorite right now. Now, there's no way to 100% validate because nobody gets Amazon's access, but based on what we've seen in our research, that's the best one out there. I'm trying to hit all these questions. John, I'm strongly considering joining Just One Dime. Any thoughts on this program? Absolutely. I know Seth extremely well. I've hung out in Seth's house. I was one of the speakers at his conference this past March in Vegas. If you'll email me, I can get more into detail on exactly what you're looking for. It could take me 30 minutes to answer that question on this webinar. I don't want to spend too much time. But if you'll email me at sales@hickory-flats.com, sales@hickory-flats.com, and just say, hey, I was in Barbara's webinar. Can Tim give me some insight on Just One Dime? I will do that. I think they're great dudes, but I can give you more specific information. Can we find out if there's an HTS code that affects our product? So we don't even offer HTS code tracking really because that's an importer thing. So we have our in-house importer. So what you would do is if there's a product that you think you might want to sell, fire it over us to an email and send pictures. Don't just send a description. Don't say silicone mixing bowl. Like I need pictures. I need to know exactly how big it is, what color it is, what the lid is shaped like. And then we can send it over to our clearing agents that work with the government and they will tell you what the HTS code is. Do not trust your supplier to give you the HTS code. They will screw it up. They will either screw it up because they're not familiar enough with the process or the product in which HTS code it falls under, or, I hate to say this, but they know that if they give you the correct HTS code that shows a very large duty rate, you probably won't buy from them. So they'd rather you buy now, figure out the mistake later. Kayla, you have found products where the software says it sucks, but you think it's good. Cerebro merchant words and get an average that is acceptable. Yes, and test it. Test. If you can't buy 500 of an item and test it, buy 5. If you found an item on Etsy that maybe isn't on Amazon, you think it'd be cool, buy 5 of them on Etsy. Throw it up on Amazon. Run pay-per-click data mining campaigns, which is a whole other topic that you'll have to research independently, I guess. But you don't have to go deep into something to test it. You can buy even a similar product and run those pay-per-click tests and check it. Amazon brand registry, does it help? Yes. Don't spend time on brand registry unless you have a flagship brand. If you have a bunch of random products, I don't think it's worth it. But if you have several products that fit under the same brand and the same brand name and you could trademark, absolutely. The advertising potential there is tremendous, and you rank higher if you're brand registered. Amazon will tell you that openly. Confidential.
Go ahead. And we're going to cover a couple of more topics in future webinars as well. So just make sure you are signed up at go to ecominsights.com. That's www.ecominsights.com and sign up for the newsletter. And we'll send you out alerts whenever we have new webinars that come out. We'll send you alerts for those, and you can sign up.
All right, this next question this is a good one. How do you deal with confidentiality on sourcing? We deal with it very delicately. This is a question we get asked a lot. I'm a seller myself, but I will tell you that there are so many opportunities out there. I don't need to steal other people's ideas. If I did, then I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, but also it would wreck my business because anybody can track who's selling stuff, right? So all these software owners, everybody asks the same thing. I have all this information to data. How do I not cross lines? If you're in it as deep as I am, as you have so many opportunities you can't even see straight, like I'm so deep into certain niches, there's no reason to branch out. But what you're asking specifically is, let's say you're selling something well and someone else comes along. I have to be an independent resource, okay? I can't be the guy that'll come in and say, oh, somebody else is already selling this, because I don't know what platforms people are using. So even if somebody's selling it very well over here and they've been sourcing it for us or shipping it, usually the sourcing stuff doesn't overlap. We haven't really seen that much, but like shipping sometimes will. Maybe you're selling on different keywords than this person. So I can't play God and come in and say, oh, I can't sell that for you because you might step on these toes, or maybe the person that's already selling it isn't doing very well and the next person that comes in is going to do very well. So basically, I don't even look at a lot of that stuff. I have to kind of separate myself from that. I will tell you this, Reminisce, that the product, so full disclosure to everybody else, he is working on sourcing a product for us that is amazingly unique. I can assure you right now, we have never heard of an inquiry for that product in the future or in the past. Probably won't in the future unless you start crushing on Amazon, because that is a really cool product we're working on with you. As far as the impacting negatively the first guy, we're not a big organization. You know, we have several hundred clients, but it's a very big world out there. So we can't control protecting people, because if they don't ship through us, they're going to ship through somebody else anyways. Now, what we will do is if we catch a really, really bad decision, sometimes I'll give them a little nudge and say, hey, I know you're trying to source a fidget spinner. Probably not a great idea. But generally, we just have to act as a third-party service and kind of take a lot of the emotion out of what we do. Let's see. Let me skip through this really, really fast.
Let me add my little 2 cents to that. This is the Amazon seller space is comparatively small. It is a self-regulating industry, so that if you operate a service business from the perspective of you want to screw people over and do things that are underhanded and lack of integrity, it will very quickly come back to bite you. And you know, that's not the way to build a business. And yeah, there are some people in the industry you're going to find those in any industry really, but it's going to come out pretty quickly. So that's my 2 cents.
Talking about NDAs,
Non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, we have basically pre-signed NDAs. If you go to our website, go to the bottom, there's a little button called Document Center, which is some PDFs. You can open that up. I have pre-signed NDAs on there. And then anybody that wants their own NDAs signed from their own stuff, we do some really high-level sourcing, like with patented products and stuff like that. People send us their own NDAs from their attorneys. We sign that. No problem.
Kayla's asking if you do one-on-one calls at all.
If my schedule allows it, it can be tough. So this June, I think I'm traveling like 14 days out of the month. And then I have 3 kids and a wife at home. So I try not to spend too much time outside of office hours. And of course, in the office, you know, we've got a full staff that I'm trying to help facilitate their operations. But here's
what I'm going to have them do. I'm going to have to have you guys post your questions on my group, facebook.com/groups/DealDiva, DealDiva. And you can search for business building for Amazon sellers to find it as well. I'll put it in the chat, facebook.com/groups/DealDiva. And post your questions for Tim in there, and we'll get them answered for you.
Yeah, I'll get on there and personally answer them. Kayla, to answer your question, shoot an email to sales@hickory-flats.com. Say, hey, I was on the webinar. I'd love to get a call set up, and we can tell you how that works. We can certainly do it. We'll kind of give you the rundown on how we operate that. So we're right at an hour, Barbara. Are we going to cut this off now?
I think we're good. So I'm putting sales@hickory-flats.com in the chat here. And Celine just sent me a private message. She said, in caps, awesome webinar, Tim. Thank you, Barbara and Tim. Thanks, Barbara. So, guys, thank you very much. You were here for Discover the Biggest Mistakes Private Labelers Make. We have a series of videos that we're going to do for you regarding building your own products and bringing them to e-commerce marketplaces with Tim and myself. So look for your email, and we'll get you a replay for everything. And like I said, go to ecominsights.com, sign up for the newsletter, and we'll continue sending you content and educational material.
And a lot of what we did today is we kind of talked about some of the negative. We talked about some of the problems, some of the warnings. The next stuff that we're going to get into is more actionable content on how to avoid some of these mistakes, how to operate in a way that's kind of outside of the box of mainstream teaching and thinking, and how to, I saw several questions. I kind of skipped over them tactically because I didn't want to dive in too deep, but how do you find these underserved niches? How do you find products off of Amazon? So the next webinar series we get into is going to be basically all that. It's going to be actionable content, but this is how I get down in the trenches and dig and do that. Watch for the link for that. I think that we're going to be shooting that here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'll shoot that out tonight. And we're actually doing, one on case studies, which I find fascinating because I learned so much from sellers who are multiple steps beyond me. So seeing what they're doing successfully, so I can learn from, people who've been there and done that. And we're going to do a whole webinar on that as well. So Look for your email, guys. Thank you, Tim, so much for being on here today. I appreciate your taking your time out of your busy day. And we will see you guys. Let me do a face here. Boom. And we will see you guys on the next webinar. Thank you all for being online today.
Yep. Good to see you guys. Have a good one.
Talk to you soon. Bye.